into the future, because there'll be plenty of other opportunities to really get an understanding of like, okay, this doesn't look real. Like there's going to send Steve Aoki to the moon next year. I'm sure like some other poop hole country like India is going to try and like fake some more space stuff. And it's going to be hard to keep trying to defend some of these things as they come out. Hopefully China gets better with green screen and CGI, because those are some of the worst ones. That just, especially to hear American Globers defend Chinese propaganda, it's tense.
They do, man. They do too. Like those videos are so bad. I would think that would be like the place we could all agree.
Well, I haven't actually seen any of those, but for the India landing, why would they put out, like, if they truly did fake it, why wouldn't they just use a better CGI image?
Well, because if it looks too good, it'll be obvious that it's fake. Like, yeah, for real. For real, that's what even Elon says.
Hey, we know it's real because it looks fake, all right? That's rule one in Glover book, all right? Get that down.
That is like the answer, right? Like if it looked like Gravity, that would be obviously not how it would look in reality. Like the movie Gravity, like people be like, this is way too curated, this is not legit.
I've seen one amateur receive signal from the Viacom 3, I believe. And remember the name? It's a Vikram.
It should look like Gravity without any cuts at all.
So what do you think about the ISS? Like, what about if you saw, a live stream of the ISS or something? Like if Tactical was showing it to us through his telescope.
We all, almost all flat earthers acknowledge that what you call the ISS can be spotted and tracked.
Okay.
So this is one of the craziest parts of the combo is stuff like that. So like what we're actually saying is we don't believe that the footage that's supposedly inside the ISS is legit. We think they're faking all that. We don't even think there are actually people in it. But it always, every time a Glober goes to like rebut a flat earther or bring up the ISS, they bring up that they can track it. Like, yeah, no, flat earthers have tracked it. I've tracked it. Jaren's tracked it. Right. Like we know that it's same thing with Antarctica. Well, I'm just making a bigger point real fast. It was just like same thing with Antarctica, right? Where, like our point, see, Aaliyah agrees with me. Okay? Like Antarctica is like our point is you can't freely and privately explore there. There's no way anyone can claim to actually defensively know what all's there. And then they say flat earthers lie and think that you can't go to Antarctica, but thousands of people go there all the time. It's like that's not our position, though. That's weird, right?
I think there's a misunderstanding because, like, for the longest time, it did appear as if the claim from flat earthers was that the ISS, isn't real, and then you slowly get the argument going. Well, look, we can see it, right? And getting that understanding that they're just saying that there is something physical you can track, but they're just lying about the whole aspect of it. I think can finally be understood now, because I definitely have heard from multiple people that it's not real. And I think that argument is going away, at least for the most part.
I think the question shouldn't be if you acknowledge the existence of ISS, but if you know or have an idea of what it is on the further.
I agree. I think it is a little disingenuous to say that flat earthers as a whole were making the argument that the ISS isn't real. I don't think somebody coming into the conversation for the first time, I don't think it would be intellectually honest to like present that information to them as fact.
I checked the ISS years ago.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I had people, show me pictures of it, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. I think there's stuff up above our head, but there's not like people doing somersaults and stuff with like hairspray, and like sipping Capri Suns and not taking a shower for 800 days and pooping in a tube. Like that's not happening up there.
Oh, right.
What's funny is
what is it?
Came out in 1968 and literally told everyone that they were faking. Okay, go ahead, man. I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal. It was 10 seconds. Go ahead.
I think his question. Oh, go ahead. I saw you light up.
Oh, yeah, so flat is. So we can see it. We know how it looks. So what is it?
It is literally anything but what they're saying it is. It's airborne trash, as far as I'm concerned. It's something for you guys to. How much would it cost for them to put something in the air that you guys can track and look at your telescopes with? And that's enough evidence for you to believe whatever the fuck they put on the TV saying is going inside it. It's just.
How would you do that? Like, if you could explain how you, I get it. That's a good question. So if you could explain how they could put something up in the sky and put it in that kind of perpetual orbit to where it never shifts, like, what energy source are they using to do that? Like, you had a better.
Hold on. The same technology that they are using to keep satellites up in the sky.
So that's
satellites don't stay in the sky; they eventually come down.
We see them
No, I know. Yeah, they come down when their helium balloons run out of helium or get a hole in them.
No, like 2 months ago, there was a re-entry from a Russian spacecraft, which you could see. There was a pieces of rocket flying apart. You could see it re-entering the atmosphere.
How do you get something moving so fast in the atmosphere it bursts into flames?
Okay, yeah, that's not that hard. You just put something really high up and then, blow it up and it'll come down in flames.
Oh, it wasn't blowing up. It was moving in one direction, bursting into flames. It wasn't an explosion. It looked like you were going through something and burning up.
Okay.
That's how it looked like. It wasn't an explosion.
Yeah, I think it's possible to fake these types of things, guys, and not that hard at all. Well, let's think. They were testing the V2 rocket in the late 30s, early 40s. It's 2023, guys. I'm pretty sure they can figure out how to shoot something really high up into the air, so high that the velocity at which it reaches as it's falling back towards Earth would cause some sort of combustion in the atmosphere. It's not. I mean, it is rocket science, but
so they could do that, but they couldn't put something into orbit.
You use an Earth-centered, Earth-fixed system to do it, and they account for real inertial forces as if the Earth is stationary and there's movement in the sky. That's literally what the equations say. And so, yeah, you can use electrical. This is where you say that it isn't the case, or somehow it doesn't matter, or whatever. But this is just a fact. All I did was state a fact. It's not really. There's no reason to debate it or anything. I just stated a fact.
I don't think if anyone was arguing that the orbital equations don't use the whole solar system model to establish orbit on the Earth. I don't think anyone was arguing for or against it.
Nothing to do with that at all.
Like I said, when you establish an orbit from the Earth, you don't really look at the solar system. You just look at the Earth.
So you didn't even understand. You didn't even actually understand. They assume that the Earth is stationary, and they account for real inertial forces of movement as if the sky is moving around the Earth. And then you talked about the solar system, and it's just like this.
I talked about this solar system to tell you that yes, I agree with you. It is not relevant to any of those equations.
It's completely irrelevant to my point. That's what it is.
I just want to bring it back really quick. So, how do you guys know that there's people on the? Because we both agree that they've got technology to put an object up there, but how do you know that there's people there?
There's footage from amateur telescopes showing spacewalks.
There's footage from telescopes showing. Yeah, sure. Okay, see it.
Yeah, let's see it.
Okay, hold on a second though, before we show it, what would that mean to you if we had images of spacewalks from the surface of the Earth to the thing that's flying up through the sky? Because if it's not in space, it's going to be in an atmosphere and it's pretty turbulent. I'd like to know how you can get a spacewalk when you're flying through an atmosphere.
Well, you don't see a spacewalk from telescope. That's a fact. That's not true at all.
Yeah,
that's not true at all.
I would just say my gut reaction is that it's fake footage. It's been faked in some way. But if it's not, and you guys are claiming that this is real, I would like to see telescope footage from the other way around, from a satellite zooming in on my face on Earth, planes flying sideways and stuff.
You can buy something like that. You can buy something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So when presented with the thing you asked for, you're gonna move the goalpost.
Where's it at? Where's it at?
It's not a telescope. It's basically a spy satellite. That's what it is, and you can buy.
Oh, look how quickly this changed. You see what I'm saying? So When I said I knew it wasn't real,
satellite is basically.
Okay. When I said I knew it wasn't real, it wasn't even 10 seconds later that you changed the claim. But you were just acting like I needed somehow. What are you going to do when we show you this telescope footage of the
So you
ISS
were asking for the
I
footage
knew
from
it didn't exist. It obviously doesn't exist, and now it's a spy satellite.
I misunderstood you. I thought we were talking about zooming in from the orbit to the Earth. I was replying to the guy who told you.
That was my bad. I shouldn't have brought that up. I changed the subject. I broke the dam. My bad.
Yeah, but
when I said, what would it show you? What would it mean if we showed you this, spacewalk, right? And immediately went to, well, I want to see the other way around. So when presented with the evidence, it's an immediate goalpost shift. Like, oh no, the goal is actually to have it the other way, not the one that
you guys just moved the goalpost.
Well, here,
you just moved the goalpost first. We can stand on the Earth and use a telescope to see a spacewalk, and 10 seconds later, it's actually a spy satellite.
But no, that wasn't it.
No, you're being misunderstood again.
I was replying to a guy who wanted footage zooming in from the orbit to the Earth, so I told him no, it's not a telescope, it's mostly spy satellites that do this, and you can buy the service. I wasn't talking about
show us the spacewalk that you can
Yes, I'm looking for the footage because I've seen it a few times, but I don't have it downloaded.
Yeah, we're trying to find that right now. It's the other person who moved the goalpost with it that said, no, we want it the other way around.
Wait.
Was responding to that.
Demon Stride, you would have this proof ready to go, dude, if you guys had this. Come on.
I meant work in a conversation, man. That's not how this works. You know that you can't just demand I fucking have something ready to go like that. I don't have folders. But you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to start getting folders ready for this specific instance. So when I'm asked a ridiculous thing like that to do and I'm working, I can just go and share a link and hopefully not get fired.
Here's another thing. They're going to just be super fluid up above us at a certain altitude, and it would have no viscosity. And you could certainly use electrokinetic propulsion with no viscosity, and you could just move perpetually with no resistance.
Yeah, that's a what if.
Oh, but it's not a what if to tell me that the universe is 46 billion light years old, or light years away.
Anything about the age of the universe. That's
notice how you always, have you noticed that you interrupt every time, or are you unaware of it?
Because you're trying to do something very weird. I would not tell you personally that I can verify age of the universe. That's not something I can do, so let's not bring it up.
So when I point out that you interrupt every time, you started to try to justify doing it.
I didn't justify it.
Yeah, you said because. It doesn't matter. You don't interrupt every time someone talks, dude. Can you just chill?
I think you seem to be listening to some different conversation, man.
Oh, okay. Do you? How about this? If I play it back where you interrupted me 3 times in the last 2 minutes, and if that's true, do you agree to be timed out for the rest of the day?
Hold on, we don't need to.
Because this whole gaslighting. No. They're just trolls, and they know that they can just lie, and it's just annoying. You don't just interrupt people every time they talk.
Witsit. Who's lying? Because you said that's a lie after a claim I made. Yeah,
I just want to attempt to moderate the room here. I'll put it, let's see, like this. You see somebody talking, and they're lighting up. Do not speak until 1 3/4 seconds after they've stopped lighting up. Please try to everybody adhere to this rule that I've just made right now. We're going to see if it works. That way nobody's talking over anybody. And nobody else has to mod except for me, so everybody can just chill. All right.
Okay, so I'm going to try to make my... Oh, Jesus Christ. Can I just finish my point real fast? I don't have... This is the point, right? You said that's just a what if. And then I started bringing up other what ifs that are... But let's just stay specific to the point, right? Oh, it's just a what if that it's actually free-falling, changing directions perpetually, sustaining a perpetual orbit by free-falling while simultaneously changing direction, which cannot be replicated in any lab setting at all to even show that it's physically possible. On the other hand, what I've said can 100% be proven with experiment that it is possible. So now if we apply your standard of evidence here of it's just a what if, you lose. But now we're going to move the goalpost to now your what if somehow counts, even though it can't be physically demonstrated, but mine can be, but it doesn't count.
Well, I'd like to address something you said right there, is that it changes direction. The ISS is in a run line path, and there's only if you're going in a great circle and it's not over, directly over the equator, you will eventually do this thing called a rum line, and you'll go all over the Earth like that. So, what do you mean it's changing direction?
Dude, even on the equator, it's changing direction. You notice how the actual point though, where you said it was impossible. Then I demonstrated that it physically is possible, right? And I said no, you could have like a superfluid, it have no viscosity or resistance, and you can move perpetually. So then you don't say, oh well, never mind, it is physically possible, I was wrong. You then move the goalpost to that's just a what if. Then I point out, no, actually claiming that it's free falling, changing direction is equally a what if, only it's worse because you can't physically demonstrate that being a real physical effect. Yet I can demonstrate mine being a real physical effect in a lab. And then we change the subject away from, oh, is it really changing direction? Because never do ballers concede when they're refuted. That's like rule number one.
You said I was lying earlier, and we've really gotten away from that. What did I lie about?
And now you're diverting away from it. So when he said it's just a what if, and I pointed out that you guys have a bigger what if that can't even be physically substantiated, you have to avoid it. You guys can't address that.
I'd like to, but like we keep like shifting every time we start talking. There's another thing to talk about. I really did want to get out what you think I lied about.
Please address this question.
Work backwards. Which one?
See, I didn't say you were lying. I said that the other person has said you must be listening to a different conversation as if to gaslight that I'm insane, making up that the guy is interrupting me. I said that's a lie. You know it's a lie. We all heard this guy interrupt me from the first time I said something. He interrupted me. Then he huffed and puffed through me. Okay.
I
didn't realize that's what you were saying was the lie. That's my bad. I misunderstood.
All good, but I just want the point. He said that's just a what if, and I said no. Just a what if is that it's free falling, changing directions perpetually, which that physical mechanism cannot even be demonstrated in reality to be possible. Yet what I said, like electrogravitic propulsion, magnetic levitation, and a superfluid without viscosity, that can all be physically demonstrated to be true. Right. So actually, your claim's way more of a what if.
Okay, I'll address that because the ISS is not in perpetual free fall. It has to, every time it gets a Dragon X booster that docks with it, they actually like burn it for a little bit and push it back out into orbit because it degrades its orbit every single moment there isn't a thruster being pushed on that thing. So over time, its orbit decays lower and lower. It won't free fall forever. That's not the claim. That's not ever been the claim.
Oh, trying to keep up. So you claim that the mechanism of orbit is free falling around a ball while simultaneously changing direction. That is a physical claim that has never been demonstrated. Yes, so it's just a what if.
No, there's a rum line. That's why it changed. And when you say change direction, what do you mean?
It's going around a ball.
Yeah, I know.
Are you kidding?
It's because it's in orbit around a globe. Yeah. How is it changing direction?
Changing direction. Orbit changes direction. Orbits don't change direction.
Orbit.
That's crazy.
What you're saying is it's in an orbit where it has an orbit. Instead of just like saying a word that tries to confuse people. No, because if you say changing direction is an orbit, why wouldn't you just use the word orbit?
Because the point that makes it people. You're so lost. Because the point that makes it physically impossible is the simultaneous nature of free fall and change of direction. That's why I said it. That's why you're avoiding it.
I'm not avoiding it. Please explain why something in orbit can't be in free fall.
No, please demonstrate that it's a real thing that can even possibly happen. How about that?
It's special pleading, sir. It's special pleading until you prove it.
Yeah, just beg the question. That's what you did. So that's all you can do. The globe claim is, yes, this is the way that orbits work, that you change direction, but you're not really changing direction, and you're going in a straight path, but it's actually a change of direction and a curved path, and it's actually free falling while it's changing direction at the same time. But the only time that ever happens is on the giant scale with orbits. So just trust my story.
When you say change direction like that, you are poisoning the lab.
Can you just address that Witsit gives you something that can be demonstrated in a lab and yours can't? That's the simple point. Please address it.
All right. Well, show me the thing where it's shown in a lab, and then I'll see how it equates to the conversation we're having. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. No problem. Yeah. Magnetic levitation and superfluid.
Yeah. No. That's pretty interesting stuff. Absolutely.
What'd you say?
I said it's pretty interesting stuff. Absolutely.
Well, it's just the point is that someone said, "How could that even be possible?" I then gave it away that it could be possible, and then his response was, "That's just a what if." Well, good thing the question was, "How could it even be possible?" Which is a what if question. And then I gave you a specific thing that can be physically shown to be a real phenomenon. And your claim can't be physically shown, but somehow you guys have the high ground here. Like, what am I missing?
Okay. So, all right. So, can things only be done in a lab from now on, and that's the only way we know them to be true?
No, I'm saying that the mechanism that I suggested is significantly more valid because it can be physically substantiated. So your claim is assumed to be physically impossible until you can substantiate that it is possible.
Interesting. That's an interesting way to do it. To say it's impossible until shown true. I'd probably say I wouldn't know if it's impossible until I've shown it to be impossible. But you're taking the exact opposite route where you say, no. You're guilty until proven innocent.
So you're saying we should blindly believe everything until someone shows that it's impossible?
No, that would be crazy. What I would say is don't put any weight on anything, either, a right, a yes or a no, until you actually know that yes or no has validity.
Well, your claim is contrary to all orbits we see on the Earth. Your claim is contrary to all laws of motion we observe on the Earth. No. Everything we observe on the Earth, we do not see objects free falling and changing direction in orbit on the Earth. It is not physically possible.
Show me an orbit on the Earth.
A magnetic levitation. You think we can't make things orbit on the Earth, dude? You can use electrostatics. You can use electrostatics to make things orbit. You can use all kinds of things.
So what is
in order for something to orbit, it has to go around a body. So what do you mean when you say things orbiting on Earth?
Yeah, you can literally use a sewing needle and little bubbles and use electrostatics to make it orbit the needle. You think we can't replicate orbits on the Earth, and that's actually hilarious.
I don't know. I'm just asking you for a demonstration of it, and you're then taking.
I just gave you.
Well, you just said words. That's fine, but I asked you for an orbit on the Earth. I didn't claim you couldn't have them. I'm just wondering what your definition of orbit on the Earth is. And if you're saying it's bubbles going around a needle, I suppose that would be an orbit on the Earth. I think Tactical wanted to get into it. So
I want Tactical to admit that when he said it's a what if, it was ironic because his is way more of a what if because I can physically substantiate my claimed idea, which I'm not even claiming, I'm just saying it's possible because the question was, how would it even be possible? So it's not, I'm going to repeat it one more time. When someone says, how would this even be possible? And then I say electrogravitic propulsion or magnetic levitation or a combination of the two in a superfluid that has no viscosity or resistance. And then the guy says, that's just a what if. Well, that's a stupid response, isn't it? The question was, how would it even be possible?
But the what if is the mechanism. I can claim any mechanism and say that it's what's happening, and without evidence, that's just a what if. That's the point.
I didn't claim that's what's happening. He asked me, how would it even be possible?
As in reality, as you said, that ISS can be observed. So my whole discussion was so what is it? If you're giving me a mechanism of how could it work, I assume that it is what you think is happening. If you don't
see how he just avoided it? So the question was, how could it even be possible? I gave one way that it could be possible, and then you responded with, oh, it's just a what if. And I claimed I know that's what's happening when it's not what happened. He asked me, how would it even be possible? And I provided a way. And then when called out for that, you then said, oh, well, I just assumed you were really making the claim. That's all I'm talking about. Like, what? Well, you guys always do this. You always avoid the actual point.
Who are you guys? You're talking to me, not multiple people.
Okay, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's all tactics. Like, you should change your name to just tactics. Yeah. Tactics.
I'm trying to talk to you, and you're now telling me that I'm giving you some tactics to make a conversation derail or something?
That's what you're doing. Yes. Every time that I make the point, I call out exactly what happens. You avoid it with it. Oh, you focused in on the fact that I used a plural pronoun, right? Like whatever tactic you can use to avoid the points. That's what you guys do.
I assumed you made a claim, and I assumed you made the claim, and I was arguing for me thinking you made a claim. So yes, I misunderstood you. How is that a tactic?
Okay. How about this? All right, listen real carefully, right? You guys claim, well, see if you're going to apply the same standard to you, right? So when you claim, tell me, how is the ISS in orbit? Explain the mechanism.
It has enough speed parallel to the ground that it never falls to the ground.
What's the mechanism?
Gravity.
Not gravity, acceleration towards a body that it's moving around. Since the body is pulling the ISS in, acceleration, and the ISS is moving forward, it makes an arc. Since it's moving so fast that arc makes a circle, it is now moving around that body which it is accelerating towards in a circle. That's what I would claim.
What's the physical mechanism?
I think I explained it. If you want me to explain it clearer, then ask questions.
I want you to say the physical mechanism.
He just explained how orbits work, like how you achieve an orbit. If you're asking how do rockets work to get you going that fast, I think that's a different question.
Yeah, I don't know how the engineering of a rocket works.
Okay, so hey, can you substantiate the idea that an object can free fall around another object, just constantly missing the ground, and change direction in an orbit doing that?
I don't know. You said that we can demonstrate orbits on Earth, so I guess you made it yourself?
Okay, can you substantiate an object in free fall, orbiting another body, changing direction at the same time, please?
On Earth? No, I would assume no. That requires an orbit to be going around the body.
So that's just a what if then, right? So it's just a what if then.
No, if we can send a rocket and it works just the way I told you, it's not a what if anymore. If you're claiming there's a superfluid up there, then I would like you to have some measurements of it, observations, I don't know, anything.
Wow, that's crazy. You send rockets up and they orbit the Earth?
No, I don't have access to any rockets, but I know that there's multiple agencies doing it. I've never seen an agency trying to prove that there's a superfluid up there.
Okay, so see now, so you're appealing to the very thing that can't be verified, but this isn't a what if, and it claims anomalous physics that can't be verified on the Earth, but that's not a what if. But I'm bringing up a speculation of something that can be physically verified on the Earth, but that doesn't count.
Do they use
so you have a double standard? The double standard's been explained.
For your experiment on Earth, do they use the superfluid like you're talking about?
No, it doesn't. Superfluid wouldn't make an orbit. Your claim was how would that even work
to make an orbit?
Your claim was how would that even be possible if there was atmosphere, right? That was your question. No. I said that was his question.
I was the one asking question. I was the one asking question, and it wasn't because of the atmosphere or anything.
Just now responding to Demon Stride and then talking about the question that he asked, which is what I gave the answer to, and then you jumped in.
Because that was me asking the question, it was me you were having a discussion with.
Hey, buddy, did Demon Stride just say something to me and then I was responding to him? I'll back up. No. The dude asked me a question, I was responding. Okay, his Demon Stride originally said, "How would that even work in an atmosphere?" Right, because you'd have drag and resistance. I said it could, if at a certain altitude there's something akin to a superfluid, which is hilarious because now mainstream astronomy and astrophysics is saying that dark matter seems to just be a superfluid. There may be tons of superfluid in space and stuff, which is hilarious. Because you guys aren't up to date with, I guess. But anyway. Because you said that they're not looking for superfluid. You're wrong, actually. That's their most up-to-date theory as to what dark matter is. But my point is that it wouldn't cause resistance. That was just a rebuttal to the idea of, yes, if there was air, obviously it would cause drag or resistance. But if there's a certain altitude where there's like a superfluid, you would have no resistance. You would have no viscosity. So therefore, you just have a medium that this orbit can take place in. That's separate. That's just the medium. That's separate from the physical mechanism that I invoked, which would be like quantum locking or magnetic levitation or electrical propulsion or all of them combined. Well, the two combined.
So
That's
still,
interesting. Go ahead.
okay. Yeah, that was me who you were answering. It wasn't Demonstrate who asked that question. It was me.
No, it was Demonstrate who said, "How would that work in the atmosphere?" It's objective.
I think I answered like probably 20 minutes to go tactical.
Oh,
But then
yeah.
he just asked maybe 2 minutes ago about the superfluid aspect and was the test with both of them. So then I responded with no, they're two separate things. I answered your first question with superfluid, and then you're asking for the physical mechanism, and I answered that with quantum locking.
So I'd like to see, it'd be cool if they had an experiment going that showed quantum locking using the superfluid creating an orbit on Earth, right? Like that would be pretty cool. That
Also,
would,
the object which is being quantum locked needs to be a like frozen superconductor. I don't think satellites are made out of superconductors.
Okay, first of all, they're showing that they can actually, it looks like they can achieve superconductivity at ambient room temperatures.
No, they can't. That was debunked. There was a test doing that, and they claimed that they have a ambient temperature superconductor, but that was proven to be false. So no.
Well, how was it proven to be false?
They were given the mechanics of how it was supposed to work. They tried to replicate it. It didn't work.
they lied in their thing.
Okay, so supposedly that was the really old claim from years ago. I'm talking about the claim from this year, a couple months ago.
Yeah, that was it. The Chinese, I believe, some scientists claim that they made a superconductor that was able to superconduct in ambient temperature and was made out of like really common materials, which would be very good. But after they were checked if what they claim is true, because that's what you do, they were proven to be false, or their result was proven to be unachievable. So the thing was debunked. What they did was not. They weren't able to recreate it.
Okay, so there are many different ways that an orbit can be attained over a plane. Okay, yours is just a fairy tale that uses special pleading. Can't be replicated at all. Can't even be shown to work other than just assuming it's true, right? I'm showing that quantum locking is a real phenomenon that happens, and it is, and magnetic levitation is real. So is electrogravitic propulsion. So say that there's plasma up there. If there's plasma, that's ionized gas. If the actual conductivity increases as you go higher and higher, they could use electrogravitic propulsion to actually move in a perpetual motion around over top of the Earth. They can also maybe go even higher if there was a superfluid, but they would have no viscosity. But even within the plasma, if you're using electrogravitic propulsion, you would basically have a barrier that would have no viscosity for intended purposes of motion. And that's just a few of the possibilities. Yeah. So
those are a lot of possible maybes and ifs that I heard along all of that. But I would like to see the demonstration of what you claimed is the real thing. I'd love to see that demonstration.
What's super funny is you guys didn't do anything. You have no physical demonstration. You believe a story from people who claim to send stuff to a vacuum. Then you ask me, how would that even be possible? And then when I am obviously forced to speculate, I don't claim to send rockets to a vacuum. I don't blindly take my brain out of my head and hand it over to authoritative agencies and believe whatever they say. So I obviously have to speculate as to what type of mechanisms would cause it, right?
Sniping at the character while also claiming that we live in fantasy, and then on the other hand saying, if, maybe, and possibly, on all of your explanations isn't fairy tale? Okay.
What's super funny is you didn't actually address the direct refutation of that stupid tactic. So I said, of course I am forced to speculate because of those reasons. And then you just brought up that I speculated again as if it's some type of like refutation of my position.
It's that you believe it without any experimentation. Like that, you believe more than anything else that actually has documentation and data. Like you were forced to speculate on something you would believe more likely without it ever having any evidence that that's the case over things that we actually have evidence for that you're gonna
Wait, what do you mean there's no evidence that that's the case? What do you mean? So we actually we have actual precise measurements of an ether drift getting higher with altitude. Whenever you you extrapolate the speed of the ISS, it matches that speed.
Show me the calculations.
Okay. I'm driving. I know you've never researched any of this though. So whenever we
Okay,
do the
provide me with the calculations.
when we do the interferometry measurements, right, the propagation rate of the light is variant and it increases with altitude in the
Show me the
direction that
measurements.
Okay, so when I drop the link of all the studies right now, you're going to actually go read them?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you won't, though. I guarantee you won't. You won't read them and then come back and respond to them. You 100% will not.
All right, I'll read them too.
It's good to know that you have a future. It's good to know that you have a future prediction skill. That's useful.
Yeah, I can't wait to prove you wrong just by reading it.
Because I've dropped this list in here to people like you guys that ask for it.
I'm not them. I'm not a group of people. You're not talking to a group of people. You're talking to me, one single person. Just because you dropped a link to someone else, I didn't say it because I'm not them.
The guy that hasn't backed up his claim of seeing people from a telescope, the ISS, and now is asking for citation after citation.
Yeah, and I'm about to give him a list of citations. Okay. I'm about to give him a list of the tests. But here, let's see. This is where you employ another tactic, guaranteed. So hypothetically, if the test I just said actually exists and the propagation rate increases with altitude in the direction that the stuff in the sky moves, then what would be your response?
I don't know. I need to research it first.
See, I told you he'd employ the tactic, right? So that's what they always do.
I want to research the topic before answering a hypothetical.
Yeah, let me respond to that for a second. Let me respond to the tactic.
No. Witsit. It would be like asking me what.
The Globers run the room. What am I thinking?
No, because you just. What even was that?
That's the question.
You want me to tell you what I would think if the document that you sent me is true. Why is that? Why can I not research it first before answering the question?
Because I'm trying. Am I gonna ever get to respond? Do you think that's okay, guys?
I'll wait. Just don't whine about it.
Okay. So this is the point. Because to show that you guys aren't here with good faith and to actually have an intellectual discussion, if I ever ask an intellectually honest hypothetical, you guys cannot answer it. But when you ask me to speculate about a mechanism, I happily oblige. Happily. But you guys don't have good faith. So whenever I say, no, the tests have shown this, you guys haven't researched it, so you get to just say, no, show it to me. I'm like, okay, happily, I'll show it to you, just like I do every single time people ask for it. But before we just put the whole conversation on pause, there's the list right there. He just dropped the list for you. But so because of your ignorance, you don't get to control that the conversation can't progress, because now you have to tap out because you're claiming something isn't legitimate, but you're uninformed. Okay, so I asked you if those tests do in fact show that, okay, then what would be your response? If you're going to say no, then just go on mute, because now you're tapping out of the conversation, because that's where the conversation had progressed to.
Well, here's the thing. When I asked about, when the question was asked, what do you think would be your response if we showed you the pictures of, a spacewalk? Immediate response was, I'd want to see the opposite direction. The goalpost moved immediately. When you ask tactical, hold on, I'm trying to respond. When you ask tactical, what would be his response? What did he say? Was it an immediate no? It was, I don't know. I'd have to read it.
But that wasn't my response to anything. What are you talking about?
You guys,
you're picking on low-hanging fruit, man. There was a funny response. It was a joke, tongue-in-cheek response about looking back. Witsit immediately said, show it to me. Everybody said, show it to me immediately. They gave you respect when you said that.
Yeah, immediately I asked for you to show it to me. That's what's so funny, Demon Stride.
No, it wasn't.
No, dude.
No, immediately the person responding, that's fine. If it, you weren't the one that fucking moved the goalpost, so I don't have to pin it on you, but I can just add you to you guys.
Buddy, I'm the one that responded first, and I said, show it. Drop it right now. Let me see it. I don't believe it exists. And then, a couple minutes later, someone said, well, I'd want to see it from the other way around. So, but this was so funny. If you had then said, well, hypothetically, if you saw it, then what would be your take? I would answer the question because I'm intellectually honest. So that's a perfect example. And then you asked me to speculate about a mechanism of orbit. I did that. But when I ask you guys to speculate as to the hypothetical, because you haven't researched it yet, You guys always refuse. No, I'll have to see it first. Because you can't even use your brain to actually think about the information and be honest in the conversation.
All right, well, imagine this. I've got a paper that says you're wrong. What if you read it and it shows that you're wrong? What's your response to that?
Wait, what is it? How is this paper that shows that you're wrong?
No, it's just a hypothetical paper that says Witsit's wrong. All right, the paper says this. What do you say to that? What say you? This paper says you're wrong. What's your response to that?
That's not what my question was. It's a completely stupid analogy. If I'm in a conversation with you, and then you bring up a claim that refutes my position, and you say that the test has been done, I would say, okay, sure, let me see it. If you then said, okay, I'll grab it for you, but if that test really has been done, what would be your take? I would immediately answer, I do it all the time. I would say, I don't know. I would have to recalibrate and try to understand that from my perspective. I literally say this phrase all the time. I would have to reconsider it, and because that does match what the Globe would say. I'm not sure how that would work on the flat Earth, or I would have to think about it.
Axel said, I don't know. I haven't read it. That's the answer you just gave.
No, but then I asked specifically, what if the light propagation rate actually increases with altitude and the test and measurements do in fact show that? What would be your take on that phenomena? And he said, I have to read it first.
Yeah, I would have to read that too, but I don't know what the take would be.
That's the same answer you just tried to explain. You would not give an answer because you need to research it first because it matches with the opposing model, so you need to think about it, and that's what I did.
Well, no, because I need a specifics to give you an actual more in-depth answer, obviously. So we're talking about a vague idea of you saying something, Austin's wrong, here's the paper. Whenever it's a specific point, which was there has been evidence that shows there is an ether drift, and then you asked for it, and I explained in detail what the test is, which is that the propagation rate of the light is faster, it's variant in one specific direction consistently, and it increases in that direction with altitude. Okay? What would be your take if that's actually the case? That was the question. If Michelson-Morley's been replicated with extremely higher precision, and it shows that the propagation rate of light increases in one direction and with altitude.
Then I would say, I don't know, and how is that relevant to the ISS, which is not light?
Okay, because it shows that there is a drift, an ether drift in the sky. Okay,
and so if that is the case, how is the ether interacting with physical objects, and how would that make them move?
No, it would just be that there's a drift there, so therefore there is a directional bias of even the energy, which goes back to the other part. Which this is against where you're asking me to speculate, but when I do, you won't be able to intellectually respond. So then you'll just say, "Oh, that's just a what if." That's what you're gonna do. But anyway, so that goes back to my other response was, well, the evidence seems to suggest that there's plasma bubbles, and if the density of the plasma increases with altitude, and it thus gets more and more conductive, then you would have a directional bias within that electrical environment. You could utilize this to propel yourself forward perpetually relative to your environment. Also, if you map out the ISS on a plane, it makes like this perfect sacred geometry pattern that matches. It's very similar to the pattern of the planet, and it all fits within the torus field.
Ellipse. It makes an ellipse that's nothing close to the planets.
Yeah, and if you look at the whole entire pattern, it makes the exact geometric pattern of a torus field.
Wow, a circle which you copy and paste on a flat thing looks like a torus. How could that be?
So are you just going to keep ignoring what I just said, I guess?
What does that torus field look like if you were to put it and map it on a sphere? Do you know what it looks like?
Yeah, of course. I have this side by side. That's another diversion away from what I just said.
No, because you're saying, oh, the sacred geometry, it looks like this and this on this flat Earth, but if you apply it on a globe, it looks like we say it looks, which is an orbit.
Okay, so are you still going to keep ignoring what I said, or?
And what did you say that I was supposed to rebut?
It's funny how you guys just avoid what's actually said.
Who is you guys? I'm asking you a question. You said that I was ignoring something, so please tell me what I ignored.
Yeah, that you specifically ignored what I said, which is that it matches a torus field geometry.
Yeah, and they replied to that.
You asked me how it would happen or how it would be relevant. I then told you how it would be relevant, and then you said, "Oh, well, this is what it would look like on a sphere." You just avoided it. That's what all you have is tactics.
No, I said that. It sounded just like that too. Oh, it's like totally like on a globe, bro.
Yes, so I did not ignore your thing. You said something about sacred geometry and how the pattern looks, and I replied with, "Okay, if you applied that pattern to a globe, it looks like an orbit." That I didn't ignore what you said. That's not ignoring that. That's replying to your information.
No, it is ignoring. You said, "How would that be relevant to the conversation?" I then explained its relevance. Instead of then acknowledging how it's relevant, you then talked about the globe. So yes, you're
yes.
using
I was talking about the globe because you provided me with, look, on a flat Earth, it is the sacred geometry, it creates a torus. So if we apply it on a globe, it still creates a torus because, it's moving around the ball.
That's totally irrelevant. That's totally irrelevant, though.
How is that irrelevant if you're bringing up the shape of it in the first place? Then how it looks on a globe is also relevant if we're going to compare two models.
No, it's not relevant. You're asking me how it would happen on a plane Earth. Okay, I then began to. Yes, you did. That's what.
You went.
Okay, I can't talk to this guy anymore. How about this? If you keep interrupting me, I'm gonna mute you. How about that?
Oh, great! I'm going to be silent.
I'm not gonna yell. I'm not gonna yell to speak. I'm not gonna have to raise my voice constantly and speak super fast. And I'm not doing that because I'm not interrupting you.
Because I'm trying to say something. You went on a 5-minute rant about something about ether field, Michelson-Morley, light propagation, directional bias, and then you went to the shape of the orbit. So you not only changed the goalpost, you also now is telling me that I'm ignoring you and whatever the fuck. So what are we even doing in this conversation? Are we still
doing nothing? All you use is tactics. You said that. See how you immediately interrupted again? Did you see that part? Did you see how you do it every time?
Witsit, come on, man. You have Witsit Tactic 101 written all over your forehead, man. Come on.
Since I'm only using tactics and you guys are so dominating me in the debate so much, is that why you guys have to interrupt me every time?
I'm not trying to even debate you. I'm not trying to dominate you. I'm trying to answer and ask questions. I'm not debating you. I'm asking you questions. Why cannot we just talk?
Because you keep on interrupting me, probably. So when you said that I was shifting the goalpost, no, you just aren't understanding. So don't worry, I'll explain it to you. So yes, if there's an ether drift, it's a vortex, and that vortex fits within the torus field geometry. They are directly related. There was no shifting the goalpost at all. So now that I've pointed out to you that you weren't actually understanding the relevance, would you like to walk back that I changed the topic and maybe respond to it?
Yeah, you're too slow, Tactical. Catch up.
My dad was asking me something. I didn't hear last 20 seconds.
How convenient.
Oh, sorry that I have a life and I have a dad.
It's okay.
I have a life outside of Discord. I'm sorry.
This is like fucking, dude. We don't need this. Nobody wants this. This is not why Geo made this platform, so we could just. My dad can beat up your dad, like.
What?
No, I just said that my dad was asking me something. He's making corn, and he wanted to ask me about how long to boil it.
Holy shit, this guy all morning long trying to white knight for every other person other than make a good argument. Dude, just make a good point instead of white knight for all the flat earthers.
Me?
Witsit is driving his car. It's his real life. Dude, I'm not really going to tell anything about it. And
once again, so you're saying that you stepped away when I made the response, and you didn't hear it, but now it's your turn to then talk about what I am or am not doing in the conversation?
I didn't. I'm just telling you that you're driving a car, so you cannot do certain things, and that's your real life. It's more important than Discord. And my dad asking me something is also a bit more important than Discord. So we're both having something to do with real life. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now that we've wasted so much time, I'm going to repeat it again. You said I changed the subject and shifted the goalpost to talking about the geometry. But no, if you actually understood the relevance of it, and you kept up with my actual point, you would know that it's directly relevant because the ether drift is a vortex. That vortex is within the torus field, so the torus field geometry would be directly relevant to the path something could take utilizing this ether drift. Do you follow now?
Yes, okay, so now I will ask you a question. So, since we can detect the directional bias, as you said, can we map it on a map or a circle? It doesn't have to be aligned with reality, but just roughly how do you think Earth looks, and make, I don't know, like arrows pointing into where the directional bias is, and then when maybe we could check how the path of the ISS looks like.
Okay. So we can take the ISS and just put it on a typical flat projection. It gives you that torus field geometry, but I don't need to have a map or anything for the directional bias of the light. It's the direction that the stuff in the sky moves. The same direction that everything in the sky moves, east to west. When you shoot light in that direction, it goes slightly faster. And when you get closer to the sky, it goes even faster. And it's been done with millimeter wave precision.
Who did this, by the way?
Okay, so
Dude named Wayne.
there is a directional bias from east to west, right? That's what you would say.
That's correct.
So why is a path of the ISS an ellipse if the east and west lines on, I guess, flutter are circles?
Okay, I already addressed.
No. You didn't. You told me about the Michelson Morley and whatever geometry, but I'm asking you, since the east and west technically form circles on the flat Earth or whatever that is, why is the east to west bias now making a ellipse out of the ISS trajectory?
So once again, dude, the bias of the light is from. I'm gonna just stop talking to you in a second, just so you know, because I just keep repeating myself. So it's the ether drift, which is a vortex that's within a torus field. Okay, the pattern fits within the geometry of the torus field, not the exact drift, because it's catching maybe like a magnetic flux, like a magnetic field lines inside this torus field or whatever, and it's catching that pattern. The relevance of the light, the directional preference, is that shows us there is in fact an ether drift. And that ether drift is a vortex, just like Sagnac, who discovered the effect, said it was. That's within the torus field, which matches perfectly now. With altitude, you get higher and closer to this celestial influence, and you're going to follow the overall geometry of the torus field. They're two separate points, but they're both related.
Where can I get a map showing how the torus looks? Or is that the trajectory of the ISS?
The torus fields look just like that. That's what it looks like. That's a top-down view of a torus field. It's the same thing.
Yes, I know how a torus looks like, but now you said that the ISS could also be impacted by other forces, so I'm just asking you for the torus field that you claim. Is there any map of this? Because that is the trajectory of the ISS.
No, look, if you were to set something up in a certain direction, but it's within the vortex drift, right? That's going to basically keep it prepared. It's going to propel it forward and forward. If you're being guided by certain electrical pressure or influence from certain directions, or you're following magnetic field lines, that's going to give you your overall path, but you're going to be propelled perpetually, effectively, with the drift. You could go over and over because the drift is pushing you in that direction.
All right, thank you, Toby, for doing something actually. Witsit, Toby already gave me the torus field. I'm going to check it out.
All right, man. But I'm sorry I got heated, but I don't have long when I'm in here most of the time sometimes, and it's really frustrating. Anyway, so if you want to read the list, if you're actually interested, then I'm sorry for assuming you won't read it. Maybe you will. Who knows? You would surprise me if you do. But there's a list there. It has 3 boxes around some of the special tests, but they're all relevant. If you redo those, some of them are really short. You're going to see the tests that show this effect. This effect does not work with relativity. It does not work with the assumption of a tilted, wobbling, spinning ball revolving around the sun with relativity. That it's not supposed to happen, but it's been proven to happen. And in logically speaking, an explanation that could explain it would be you're getting closer to the the ether drift, the higher you go, you're getting closer to the sky. The ether drift, it's like swimming with the stream as opposed to across it. That's why the light goes faster in that direction. So I encourage you to look at the test. Because I gotta eat with my daughter and wife.
All right.
Later.
And yeah, Gio,
sorry.
Gio, I know how the ISS path looks. I just wanted to, get a map of how the torus field looks like in 3D to check what he claims, because Toby sent me 4 images. The first one especially shows that the torus field would make the ISS go from one pole to the other pole, which would be under the Earth. I think that's the way I interpret this image. And the other ones are just showing the trajectory of the ISS or any other satellite and planets and a 3D torus field.
One Geo dropped is actual ISS path. It's below.
Yeah, I know it's not the actual. It's the path of the ISS mapped on a flat Earth model. It's also can be mapped on a globe Earth model, but until we figure out which one it is, not any of them are actual.
Yeah, tactical. My dad can beat up your dad, so we'll have that fight here on Geo's server, whether he wants it or not. I don't care.